I'm Ben Silverio.
And I'm Helena Handbasket, a.k.a. Caito Aase.
And I'm Ansel Burch.
And it's time to party.
We're not doctors. We don't give medical advice. Please drink responsibly. Today's episode was recorded on February 26th, 2024.
That song has words, doesn't it?
Probably. Yeah, smoked on the water.
There it is.
That was our favorite song to play in high school band. We all felt so cool, and I'm sure we were so not. Because there were no strings in our high school band. It is worth.
Oh my god!
No strings worth mentioning. Nope. I love no strings, but no, it was really no strings worth mentioning. Fair.
Oh,
fair.
It is worth mentioning that we had no strings.
Ah. So you might say you were Pinocchio.
Yeah, very.
Had no
strings.
Had no strings. Hold me down.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Goodbye.
I played the contrabass, and as the whole bass section, we were like, "Yes, this is our time." Yep.
Hell yeah. Party people, welcome back to the podcast. Yeah, we're here doing the thing. Thanks for joining us.
We just talked to the director.
We did.
That's so fucking wild. That's so amazing.
Oh, yes. This month here on Time to Party, we are discussing Coherence, the 2013 film from James Ward Burkett. If you don't know anything about that movie, here is what our friends at Rotten Tomatoes say. 8 friends at a dinner party experience a troubling chain of events due to the malevolent influence of a passing comet.
I guess that kind of covers it.
That sounds so much more foreboding than IMDb.
It's dark. Yeah. Yeah. Wall.
Yes.
Let's get some Michael Bay bass in here.
Ugh.
My rib cage hurts.
Since we bring it up, there is a special episode coming up on April 29th, an interview with James Ward Burkett.
We touch on the legacy of Coherence and the process and just some of the really cool things that have come about because of this movie and his amazing career thus far. Super cool conversation. But you know, now we're back to a regularly scheduled programming, as the kids call it.
That's right.
Do the kids have regularly scheduled programming anymore? Do they watch things on TV?
So it's all streaming.
It is
it's
all streaming.
Yeah, I don't even think they watch cartoons on regular TV. You can watch Bluey all dang day. You don't have to wait for the next episode of Bluey tomorrow.
I have a 2.5-year-old, well, almost 3-year-old nephew now, and yeah, it's all Bluey and, you know, YouTube truck videos.
New episodes coming in April, I think, for Bluey.
Oh,
great! I love that.
That's a thing I was not keeping track of. I'm glad you knew.
Of all the things that I get press releases for, Bluey keeps me informed.
Hey,
good for you. I love that.
I got to be honest. There's probably not enough entertainment journalism about Bluey out there. That could be your niche.
You could have just said there's not enough entertainment journalism out there, period, and you would have been correct.
There's that. Yeah, it's true.
Like we said in our conversation with Jim, we're just not going to go there.
Yep.
Staying positive.
Turn away from the dark place.
Yes. Unless you're, watching Coherence, which it gets a little dark.
But then you just follow the comet, and
that's right.
It takes you to the best possible house, maybe?
Yeah. So hopefully you have your wine, your cheese, and your ketamine ready, because this is a trip.
But in this timeline, I fuck your wife in every timeline.
There are millions of universes, and I fuck your wife in all of them.
There are millions of universes, and I fuck your wife in every one.
Oh, man.
God damn it. God damn it.
Wow. What a goddamn brilliant moment.
It's great. It's phenomenal. So let's start our review with this. Both of you are performers. Both of you are actors.
Yep.
We are.
So knowing how this movie was made, how would you react to this process? This shoot took place over 5 nights,
Jesus.
with like such a low budget, while Jim's wife was pregnant. And the script was entirely improvised other than a treatment,
Which is
Yeah.
fucking wild.
yeah.
I mean, like, with all due respect, Jim, if you listen to this, that's batshit insane.
The sad thing is, like, I'm absolutely the artistic dweeb that he was talking about, who would go, yeah, well, if he can do it, maybe I can do it.
Listen, yeah, I mean, that's really real. I've spent a lot of time with the folks at Panic Fest, both the people who put it on and the filmmakers who come through Panic Fest, having gone to a couple of them now and having been in films that have been in that now. And I've done the film that I have done has been predominantly indie film, and we're working on shoestring budgets, we're working on tight time frames. I think the shortest amount of time in which we shot a feature was like, I want to say like 14, maybe 16 shoot days. And that was like full ass
That'd be intense.
days for an 87-minute feature. And like, granted, there were a lot of moving parts, but it was for the most part, it was a two-hander. So the thought that they shot this in 5 days, my gods. I mean, there's a little bit to, not a little bit, there's a lot to be said about location, right? This was shot at a house, predominantly at the house, maybe a little in the driveway, a couple shots in the bathroom, some in the kitchen, right? Like,
it's very, very bounded.
It's within the microcosm of this house. But at the same time, a 5-day shoot, and they're all overnights, because we do not, with the exception of when our lead character M wakes up and sees the light of day, we don't really see the light of day. So like, holy fuck, like I think it would be an incredible challenge. I think the fact that the script is entirely improvised is huge. Knowing that like you have to trust your cast, right? You have to trust your director, you have to trust the treatment, you have to trust your cast. And that being on a 5-day shoot schedule means that we have to hit these marks on the night. They have to happen.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of like blind faith, which like takes a lot of balls.
God,
and
yeah.
I cannot deny that. It's incredible. It's
And
incredible.
like the Duplass brothers are like pioneers of this style of what do they call it, mumblecore, and like just shooting a movie largely improv, but I don't even think they could do it in the amount of time that Jim did it with his crew.
I would be very interested to see how long the shoot days were for like Creep, for example.
Exactly.
Just to put it in perspective, I ran the math just there. They had to use roughly 20% of everything shot.
Yeah. That is a massive amount of like one takes that needed to land.
Yeah. You could maybe shoot
Fucking
each
crazy.
thing 3 or 4 times tops. Because wow.
I don't even think that they could get through 3 or 4 takes. I think that they're probably operating off of 1 to 2 takes. I would love to ask Jim these are the questions now that he's gone. We've already had him on this show that I want to be like, tell me,
how did you do it?
Not because I want to try to do it, because I want to be like, what the fuck did you do to get here?
Oh man.
How did the magic happen?
Yeah, and when I first saw this movie in 2013, which was back at the Philadelphia Film Festival, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Like, I called it one of my favorite films of the year in 2013. Like, this movie is such an all-consuming type of movie, like I could not stop thinking about it when I saw it the first time, and then when I went on to watch it a few more times, because in the past 10 years I watched it a number of times, it's just I find something new every time. I think we mentioned it in the drinking smoking episode, but like when Jim talks about a shirt changing color, I was just like, fuck, I didn't even did that happened.
Right.
So many amazing little things. And like you asked about the script supervisor and how it just doesn't exist on this movie.
That
Yeah, I mean, like, right, with an improvised script, right, you don't necessarily have a deep I mean, I love a scriptie. Scripties are amazing. Shout out to all the scripties who are out there. But mainly I was asking in terms of like keeping track of the
Right.
timelines, keeping track of the trajectory. Like,
Mhm.
I know this whole thing was storyboarded, but like, what does that mean when you are working in a context of a film like this that has just so many branches? And that truly the fact that we like touched upon it with the meta-ness of it all, with the actors being named the same thing, you know, it's the actor character name thing that's happening. Like, there is this sense of like coherence being like real rather than a piece of fiction, you know.
And you know, I wrote down this note during my last rewatch, and I almost found it similar to Revealer, your movie, in a sense that you know, there are so many stories going on concurrently, but you know, we see a lot more of them happening in Coherence, you know, than in Revealer. But
Yeah.
like, Revealer also has that giant reveal. So you know, we love a good mindy bendy tale.
Right, when you realize what was happening at the same time as what you were watching, you know, I think that's really like kind of the crux of this piece.
The stuff that got snuck under your nose. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I had a question for y'all. I know that Ben is kind of guiding us down the
Not
primrose
at all.
path,
Go.
or the parallel paths of this tree branch. We're tree roots now. We're mycelium.
Kaleidoscope.
So something that came up in my mind while I was doing my rewatch of this was the idea of what I'm calling time travel 101, which is, what do you do when you see yourself? What do you do when you see your, you know, in this case, it's like doppelgangers, right? Because we're walking on this like parallel trajectory. But what do you do? You know, like the number one thing that we always hear in time travel movies is like, do not see yourself, because yourself that you run into is going to have a mind fuck and they're not going to recover from this. And then your whole timeline is just completely fucked after that. So what would you, first question I'm going to pose is, what happens in the world in which Ben sees other Ben, or Ansel sees other Ansel, or Caito sees other Caito? Because that's time travel, right? Space-time continuum. We're really working in like, we're working outside of time. We're working into the space-time continuum in this one. And incidentally, based on the film Coherence, would you kill your doppel?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, to address the second question first, can I get home? Because if I can get back to my own timeline, I can leave him be. He's doing his thing. But I mean, if this is like, you know, like Incoherence, where it is another part of the multiverse, I guess it would just have to be like, huh, how good is this dude doing? You know, does journalism still exist here? Is that still a thing?
Is he too much competition?
Yeah, right.
Is an actor that is exactly me? Fuck off.
maybe we could team up and, you know, take on all the freelance assignments, you know.
Yeah, think of all the work you could get done.
Oh my god, isn't that a terrible thing to dream about? How much more work you can do?
Truly sad.
It's so sad.
Yeah, very that.
Oh my god.
When I say work, I mean art. I hope that's
Yep.
No, my mind immediately went to like, oh hey, I could pay rent a whole lot easier with two of me.
There is that. Well, your art is your
but then
work.
there are two of you.
That's true.
But then there are two of you.
So you got to pay twice the rent.
Is it double rent?
Well, oh man, then we'd both have to work as hard to keep the man.
The answer is capitalism is a fallacy, and everything deserves to be burned to the ground. And I have a lot of other opinions.
It's true.
Yep.
Hey, if it worked in Chicago. No, I'm kidding.
Dang it.
Let's
Is
ask
that your
Mrs.
answer
O'Leary's
to
cow.
if it'll play in Peoria?
Yeah, there you go. No, but like, could you imagine, the brainstorming sessions?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I mean, part of me thinks that it would. Well, I guess I was conditioned this way because of the movies that I watch, right? So Back to the Future, Doc is constantly trying to keep Marty away from his other self, and he's trying to keep away from his
Mhm.
self. But then Endgame shows that that doesn't really play, like it doesn't really
Yeah, you
matter.
can't change your own past by change or your own. Yeah.
But then multiplicity, where you have all these Michael Keatons.
Well, and I think that this movie makes an important distinction that
Correct.
to answer
Yes.
your question, Caito, these people all know they're time traveling, and I think you brought up something really important in the way that you framed the question. One of the reasons that you don't want to talk to yourself if you're time traveling in most time travel fiction is that version of you doesn't know you're time traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And so you might fuck up choices that you made that got you here if you throw them off of their their destined course. Now, if you reject the idea that choices you make as the future of that person can affect how you are, I mean, that loop doesn't work really unless you're
Right.
Unless you're allowing a certain amount of magic into your time travel, which is fine.
Sure, the Loki of it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's like you have an understanding that this is something that is a feature of who you are. Yeah, you don't want to talk to yourself on this timeline because you might make a decision that makes it so you never get out of that.
But if you're in a situation like this where these characters all know that they're from different universes, they could, if they ran into each other, go, where are you from? Ping Pong House? I'm from Elven Mitt House. Okay, great. What did you guys find out? They could have taken a non-adversarial approach,
right?
Hypothetically,
but they didn't. They went reptile.
Yes.
They went, I am seeing myself not as me. Holy shit, I've got to kill it.
Yeah. That person knows too much,
or
that person's going to try and take my space.
Or I'm going to die if this person lives.
Yeah. And is there like a Highlander of it where, there's just something drives you to say, no, there can't be two of us.
Right. Right. That does lead me to kind of like a follow-up, maybe not a question, but just like something I wanted to point out of this, like, there's this juxtaposition of like social drama of like someone slept with someone else's wife, and we know that in the timeline they even say the line of like, if I slept with her on this timeline, I've slept with her on every other timeline. So that social drama and also the tension therein of this group of friends who, like, Jim really created this beautiful world of like people who are like people who've broken up, maybe they're still in love with each other, they're trying to have this dinner party, they're trying to just have a night where like they're kind of testing the waters of like, can we do this, can't we do this? And then it all culminates in that scene where I think it's Nick. Is it Nick's character is the one who says, "I slept with your wife on this"? Is that the character name?
Mike.
I can't remember.
Mike is the character name.
Mike. So sorry. So Mike says, if I slept with Beth on this timeline, then I've slept with her on every timeline. And then he gets knocked out. Like he gets just like there's this whole social tension that's happening. He gets decked, right? Like, sure, in a way, understandably, if we're operating in a monogamous world, but like there's also this like culminating existential dread of like, oh, we're hitting each other about like sleeping with so-and-so's wife when that's like not allowed. And also like no one knows what the fuck is happening. We are seeing doppels coming into the space. We are understanding that like someone busted someone's windshield and like no one knows who red team or blue team is, and suddenly we're realizing that there are infinite colors of teams and the oven mitt team. Like it's all kind of like culminating in this moment of like what seems like not trivial social drama, but it's got this overarching thing of like no one knows what the true timeline is, and everybody is fucked.
Yeah. The fact that
So
they
who
keep
is
bringing
killing
back
who?
like the
Who is
note on the
decking
door.
who?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, keep going.
Oh, just that. Like the fact that we have no sense of like what timeline the other houses are on, because like the note shows up both before and then again after they write it. The box shows up like way before they think to do the box thing. The photos are already in it. They haven't sorted that out yet. Yeah, there's like a whole bunch of those like time loops and chicken egg paradoxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're having the whole conversation. She's over. Emma's hearing the conversations about Cambodia. Have you ever been to Cambodia? Like, you know, all of the. Have you ever been to Vietnam? Like, all of that stuff. And she's like, "Oh, wait, I've already heard this conversation a few times now." You know,
And
so like all of them are kind of staggering.
yeah,
It's like
and not to distract too much. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry.
I was just gonna say, not to distract too much from the like sci-fi questions, but while we're talking about Doppels, did anybody catch that they took advantage of Nicholas Brendan's superpower in this movie? He has a twin.
Oh, right.
Is it his twin in the film?
Kelly Donovan, his twin, is listed as an extra.
Oh,
There are
wow.
8 people in this movie.
Holy shit!
Wow.
I didn't even realize.
God. I didn't realize that either. I would have brought that up.
Isn't that brilliant?
Darn. That is pretty brilliant.
I wish I'd noticed that before. So
Yeah.
Wow.
But yes.
Wow. Holy
Oh,
shit.
I knew
man.
that piece of trivia from Buffy because
Yeah.
they used his twin in Buffy. But yeah, I was just looking at the IMDb and I was like, oh, holy shit, that guy.
I think what we're all experiencing right now is the collective, like, in my brain after every interview I do, because I'm just like, oh, I could have asked that. Like,
Well, I didn't know.
Yeah, for real.
but yeah, Coherence is like a way more hardcore version of like that episode of Community with all the different timelines, you know? Well, with the darkest timeline where evil Troy and evil Abed want to take out the real Troy and Abed and everything, and it's just like this is the very serious dark version of it, you know? And it's
Yeah.
it's wild.
I mean, when we proposed to do this film on this podcast, my brain, like, I'm very grateful that this is the one that we chose to do, you know, that I got to come on as a guest host on. My question to y'all would be, do you define this as a genre film? I know that we talked to Jim and he's saying that there's kind of like a defiance of genre, and it's like, yes, it's indie, yes, it's low budget, yes, it's a darling in a lot of ways, but like, is it a genre film? Does it like, is it horror? Like, what would you call it? Psychological thriller? Where does this land in the zeitgeist if we have to do what humans do best, which is categorize
Right.
things?
I feel like science fiction, like in the broader sense, applies to this, you know, because of all of the sciencey bits that really make up the plot and the things that are going on. But then there's such a dependence on the characters and their experiences, and it's like, you know, a much more character driven sci-fi movie than most, you know, because it's like the question that we frequently ask is like, you know, what's how do we feel about like the time travel mechanism and things like that, right? But that's not necessarily as important as what's going on with these characters and them interacting with each other and quote unquote themselves. So I mean, sci-fi thriller would probably be my guess of a words of a genre,
Categorization.
you know.
Yeah.
I feel like Porky Pig sometimes. I'm like the genre.
That's okay.
You got there. It feels to me like it does buck some of time travel or some of the science fiction tropes that we see in a lot of popular sci-fi, but at the same time there's something to be said for the best sci-fi is about characters. The whole purpose of bringing up these strange preposterous scenarios, is to give us a window through which we can view characters who have a different set of choices than we do in our real lives. If you could go back and meet yourself, what would you do? That's a question that this genre allows you to explore.
Mm-hmm.
If you were able to blackmail yourself with the thing about, with your own darkest
Yourself?
secrets, yeah,
yeah.
If your own darkest secrets, would you use them to try and affect your own doppel in the way that we see Mike do? I think that makes it more a genre film in some ways, because the core of science fiction is that's what it's about.
And that, honestly, Ansel, I'm 100% team you about that. Like that, I'm fully in that school of thought of like, I have always viewed Coherence as a genre film, and it obviously more in the sci-fi world that like The Void is in, and like things like this, like having spent so much time in the horror genre world, and also can recognize that this is like an intimate parlor drama. Like I think that there's just this beautiful thing that it just like straddles this line that only indie film really can do. Of it defies category, it defies genre, and it's fascinating.
It reminds me of a movie that we covered a few months ago on this show. If you cast your mind back to August of 2023, I did an episode with a special guest, Mimi Wallace, a filmmaker from Chicago here, on Needle in a Time Stack. And I don't know if either of you got to watch that movie. It's well worth your time. Incredible piece of film. But it does a similar thing where it really spends the time on the character drama and the cinematography to make a really incredible movie that is utilizing the sci-fi metaphor to tell those character stories in a way that you couldn't otherwise.
Yeah, because like at one point I was thinking that like this could be an interesting play, but like because of all of the very visual aspects, like things, yeah, exactly. Like I'm not really like.
I mean, I think it could still be an incredibly compelling play.
Sure,
absolutely.
But then it might make things a little harder for the actors of like hey, change this tiny detail of your costume.
That's the best part.
There's two of you on stage.
Honestly, who cares? Because like that is the magic.
That's the best part.
That's true.
That's the magic of theater. Like
there's a trick box that has an oven mitt on one side and a ping pong paddle on the other side, and you have to remember which side to use, when to use it.
Just like the practicals of it all would just be so beautiful to map out. Like it could be an incredibly compelling piece of theater. It's an incredibly compelling film, obviously. But,
absolutely.
It would be cool to see what would happen with the practicals of it all, because it's so practical heavy, right? Like we don't see any SFX in this.
Other than the comet, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
That's a really good point for a sci-fi film. They were able to get away with almost no SFX whatsoever.
Yeah, because science fiction, frequently has lots of science, right? Like technology and things like that. But like this, the science comes from the theory, the things that are happening, as opposed to. I don't know why my first example was Robots, that animated movie with Harlan Williams.
Oh wow!
Sure.
I don't know why that was the example that popped in my head. It could have even been Meet the Robinsons, and I'm just like, why did I go there first? But one of my hesitations about talking about this movie is because, like, even though it's 10 years old, right? Like, every time I bring it up to someone, I'm just like, I can't tell you any more about it, because if I do, it's gonna like completely like. I mean, first of all, they're gonna be confused. Second of all, I want them to uncover this all on their own. So, listeners, if you haven't watched this movie before listening to this episode, I'm sorry, but like, hopefully this enhances the experience. of watching it again, because like when you do watch it again, you're gonna find something else that you didn't catch the first time. And there are so few pieces of work that do that for people, right? Like it's God, I just love revisiting this movie whenever I can.
I also think you couldn't spoil it.
Yeah,
I don't think you could spoil this movie.
There's so much that happens in this movie that like I could not tell you what happens in this movie.
Exactly.
Well, and even if you knew like about the dark patch or the different colors or the the different houses, that doesn't tell you anything about what the movie really is. It tells you some of the mechanics, but I don't think that would spoil anything. It's not as though those are
my
overwhelming reveals.
My friend BJ Colangelo, who also does the This Ends a Prom podcast, she, and I worked with her over at Slash Film. She has this great point of she doesn't care about spoilers in wrestling, because when you watch wrestling, that's where the story comes from. Like
that's the
if you don't, even if you know who wins, you don't know how it happens. And this is very much in the same vein. Like like Ansel just said, we can tell you about all these parts, but it's going to be very different when you watch it for yourself.
The journey is the whole point of it.
The friends we made along the way. Well, not friends really, because they try to kill them all. But
yes,
well, there is that.
The horrifying nightmare doppelgangers that you made along the way, that you murdered in a bathtub along the way.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But you can't find a ring. Whose ring is it? But wait, why are you calling me?
Dun dun dun.
That was man.
That moment is an incredible,
so good,
incredible,
so
ending.
good.
What a mwah.
Where she just like looks like, oh shit, like phenomenal.
Hooey. All right. Last question, I guess. I think I know the answer, but Caito, Ansel, is Coherence worth your time?
100%. Considering the fact that I've seen this film, like I think I've seen it upwards of. I may have told Jim that I saw it at least 10 times, but I think I've probably seen it realistically 4 to 5 times. And I still am learning things. I still am discovering things, especially after speaking with him. I wish I could have talked to him for another hour and a half about the project. I think it really does. It is a genre defining and defying film that creates a lot of questions and really makes you think in a way that other films of the time period and of the genre, I put that in quotes because we couldn't really determine what the genre of this film was. I think it is absolutely 100% worth folks' time.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Could not agree more. And I think that I would add on, knowing that this was so heavily improvised really speaks to me as someone who has spent so much of my career telling stories on the fly collaboratively. Like between working at the Renaissance Fair and spending as much time as I do in the TTRPG space, the magic that happens when you get a group of people together to tell a story collectively, and the things that you discover along the way that wouldn't have been there otherwise. I think that is in this movie to a certain extent. There are layers and layers of stuff that the actors put in that there's no way Jim ever anticipated or intended, but it's there now forever as part of this story. And that is dope as hell. That's so cool. Some of my favorite times are doing that kind of thing, and to see it become something so lasting and genre defying and genre defining is magical. Truly lovely.
Yeah.
We love a mind fuck.
As you said, to like the legacy that this film is living, it being over, now over 10 years that this film has been out, like it's still making us ask a lot of questions, which I think is incredible.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a rare thing.
Yes.
How about you, Ben? Was it worth your time?
Oh, 100%. Every time I rewatch it, it's something new. It's a new experience. It's like shit. I want to make something that lasts like this, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's aspirational. It's inspirational. It's
Perspirational.
sure, yeah, because the shit that happens is like some of the best parts of mystery, right? Like it's not just tiny little gaslights. It's like a real thing that you can't always wrap your mind around in the moment. So learning about it and seeing it unfold, and it's just it does all the good things that a movie wants you to feel, right? you
Mm-hmm.
know so it hits a lot of bases, and I always recommend it whenever I get the chance. So I'm glad that more people are finding it now. I'm glad that more people are rediscovering it. Like Jim said, 4 screenings sold out in LA.
That's so cool.
That's
I
so
I
wild. That's so wild. At Alamo
yes,
Drafthouse
exactly. I
too.
was not joking when I said I could not get a ticket because I tried.
Tremendous. I mean, I'm sorry you couldn't get a ticket, but like kudos to Jim for like having such a sellout
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
night for this. Like it's so worth it.
For a
It's so worth it
10-year-old
to
movie
check
that
out.
doesn't have Star Wars in the title.
Exactly.
Truly.
And like it doesn't
4
have
nights.
Nothing
like
against Star Wars,
huge names. Like it doesn't have like these marquee names attached to it either. So it's
But the thing that I find really beautiful, even though whatever, like huge names, we can put that to the side, but the fact that there are such incredible
yes,
actors who
such great
bring so
performances.
much to the
Hmm.
performances, like I hope that when if any of the actors should hear this podcast, that like they know that they brought an incredible level of skill to this
Mm.
film. I think that it really does take people who are really willing to get into the
Yes.
muck of it all, because it does have that like heady, cerebral, things are going completely haywire. What does the world mean? And also the like socio political dusting of it all. That takes a lot of, that's a very adept skill set that not a lot of actors have. So kudos to the
Yes.
cast as well.
100%. And like to be fully clear, I don't think you need big names to like sell a movie, to sell a story. It's just that there's this mindset in the industry where it's just like, oh, it's not going to go anywhere if we don't have a big name attached to it. Oh, let's get Tom Cruise to be in this mummy thing. And it's just like, do you need it? You don't always need it.
It's the danger of any industry that gets that big. They can't afford to fail.
Sure.
If you're going to spend
Right.
$250 million on a movie, you got to make $100 million back, and
Yeah.
that's
Unless
that
you're
means
Zaslav.
you gotta have your Johnny Depps.
Well, hopefully not Johnny Depp anymore.
I guarantee you that man will be back in the zeitgeist in 2 years.
I mean, if Louis
I don't
C.K.
know.
is already back.
Let's move on.
Yep, it's gross and I hate it.
It is very,
It's gross and I hate it.
yes.
Let's move on. We're moving on.
We're moving on. Okay.
Like it never happened.
Well, that's a completely different timeline that we don't have to worry about.
The wine glass is fixed again. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Well, party
Or
people.
yay, I don't know.
Party people, I hope you enjoyed our review of Coherence. You should absolutely watch it. It's on Prime, it's on Peacock, it's on Vudu, it's on Plex, it's on Apple TV. It's freaking everywhere. And honestly, if you can get a physical copy of it, do it. Just physical copies forever, but also, throw money towards this amazing movie. But yeah, while you're doing that, you can find us on the internet. I'm at bsilverio20 on Instagram, on X, on Blue Sky, on Threads or whatever.
Hello, everybody. I have been Caito Aase, a.k.a. Helena Handbasket. I am on the internet as both things. You can find me on Instagram at the Helena Handbasket or Caito Aase, Caito Aase. You can also find me on Twitter at Only Handbasket. I'm also on Twitch and all of those weird places. I am a producer over at Queen's Court Games, a TTRPG company where we do lots of fun things like Cult and Vampire the Masquerade and Monster of the Week, and we do anything, essentially anything but D&D, which is totally fine by us.
Nice.
So do check out Queen's Court Games. Also, I am a guest star regularly over at Folk and Myth, run by Miko and Bleak Season. So do check those out as well. And my published works are on. I am in Revealer, the 80s horror thriller over on Shudder and Amazon Prime, and the latest horror film that I was in called Black Mold is now available on Tubi.
Fun fact: Caito is an award-winning actor.
I am an award-winning film and theater actor.
Yeah,
which is really fucking cool to say.
Yay!
You can find me at Indecisionist on Twitter and The Indecisionist on all the other platforms that matter. So check us out there.
Yeah,
Instagram,
you can.
Facebook, Threads.
Yowza. Apparently.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make Yowza
I know,
happen.
right?
It's never gonna happen.
If it's a joke, where's the punchline? That's what I want to know.
Yes, you can also join the conversation by using the hashtag #TimeToParty. That's time the number 2 party.
As well as time the number 2 party, all spelled out. Thanks to Warwick.
Hoo-wee, party people. Another excellent party, if I do say so myself. We talked about a lot. This movie is a lot, but it's well worth it to watch it. Do it. I can't say it enough. But while you're deciding on which platform to watch Coherence on, and while you go back and listen to our amazing interview with filmmaker James Ward Burkett, remember to be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes!
Oh, goddamn. What is it? The canon in D-Bag!
Okay, so we all know. Pachelbel's canon is Schrodinger's cat of music. I'm gonna say it now.
There it is.
There it is. There it is. There it is.
It's just, I don't know. It just happens.